Bujo peeps, that's hello in Potawatomi. Hello peeps, Bujo. Welcome to Star Nation's organization's main fan page. I'm Neshi Lokatz. I am the, lack of a better term, because I don't really like titles all that well, kind of puts you in a box, you know what I mean? Some people are calling me the CEO of Star Nation's organization, LLC. I guess I am the owner. And the reason why I'm even telling you this is because some people don't realize what I do here at Star Nations. Star Nation's everything. So good morning. Today is Tuesday, August 7th, and Tuesdays at Star Nations is always a busy day. It's kind of filled with that adrenaline kind of rush, huh? Hello, peeps. Hello, Elise. Good morning, Elise. And good morning to Marianne, if she's watching. I'm glad you ladies are with me this morning. So this is the main fan page, and every morning, or just about every morning, I do a live stream, and what Facebook calls a native live stream. And you're saying, what the heck is that? It's just a regular old live stream. We're not using an app. For our other live stream shows here at Star Nations Radio Network, we use an app with our partners at BeLive.tv. And with them, we're able to do some pretty cool things with our shows, like, interviewing more than one person, to be on camera and showing pictures and all kinds of cool stuff. But in the mornings, I just do a regular old live stream. Why? Because when I first started this, I wanted something easy. I didn't have to do a lot of promotional stuff for it. So those people who show up, yay! And if you can help pass the word along, that's even better. But really, this is more of an informal gathering. It kind of reminds me of when I used to do spiritual roundtables at my house when I lived down near Madison, Wisconsin, which is our capital. Once a month, we would gather from 10 o'clock until 3 o'clock. And we never knew who was going to be there. It was pretty informal. Sometimes it was just a couple people. Other times it'd be like 15 or 20 people. And we would let spirit guide the way in what we were going to share and talk about. And some pretty amazing things came out of those chats there, just like we're doing here, but in the cyber world. And many times I kind of imagine everybody kind of grabbing their cup of whatever, whether it's tea, coffee, water, juice, whatever it is, and pulling up a chair, and enjoying the spiritual conversation. Yeah. Good morning, Cindy Lynn. I'm glad you're here with us this morning. It's it's a little bit of a drizzly morning. It's actually, I don't mind it though. It kind of feels cozy, you know what I mean? Cozy. Except our neighbors they're doing some landscaping. So I don't know if you'll be able to hear it or not. They have some big machinery over there. And so I get to maybe go visit them later and see what they're doing. Don't you like doing that? It's like, what are you doing with your lawn? I wish I had time to do more gardening and that kind of thing. But you know what? My gardens are all perennials. Most of them are indigenous, so indigenous plants, so they don't take much watering. So this morning, for the card draw, for those who are just joining us, or you're just finding the live stream, whether it's in the live chat or if you're watching the video recorded, this is the deck that we're using. It's the Sacred Geometry Oracle deck by Francine Hart. Francine published this in 2001. It was my very, very first Oracle deck with sacred geometry, and it's the only one I have, really. That was way back when. It's like in the Wayback Machine, right? Was it that time machine? I'm trying to remember the cartoon. Anyway, they had the Wayback Machine. In 2002 is when I bought this, and I had just started my study, my dive into sacred geometry. And what even started that was reading the book, The Ancient Secret of the Flower of Life by Drenville Melchizedek, who became one of my teachers. And so that this book, I would draw the cards in the morning, just like I'm doing now, just to see what the energy would be like for the day. So I've been doing this for quite some time. But it wasn't until it was in the fall, I want to say September, October of last year, is when I started taking like a sentence or two out of the card draw meaning and sharing it on Instagram, our business account for Star Nations, and started sharing it there. Then I had the bright idea come in May. Hey, maybe Star Nations community would like to know kind of like the backstory of the card draw, and so we ended up with this, the morning live stream, where we share the information from the card draw for the morning, and I meet with my spiritual team. Right, I'm asking them, and I'm meeting with my entire team, and I'm asking them to show me the energy that's most important for us to know about today for our highest good and the highest good of all, right? And so on, that's what happens. And I'm shuffling the cards, and usually a card will pop out. And in this particular deck, the way Francine has it set up is that you can draw two cards. And the first card on the layout goes on the right-hand side. And that represents the male energies, which is logic and thought, grandfather sky. So it's a lot of the mental aspects, right? And so the first card, that's the first card position. The second card position is the left-hand side, which is the female side. And that is about feelings and emotions and intuition and Grandmother Earth. And within sacred geometry, what we're looking for and searching for is balance, right? Just like every other school of soul growth, is we're looking for balance. And so when you have the representation of both the male and the female, it's a whole, WHOLE, information. And so in our energy bodies, when we take it in, it comes in balanced, if you get my drift. And so I kind of like that, There's a part of me that even my reason to get interested in sacred geometry and the Merkaba and all of that is because in that time in my life, I was searching for balance and also searching for something beyond the human, the two-legged definition of God. Does that make that kind of sounds really kind of far out there, doesn't it? But what I was searching for was the root. Where's the commonality? Because many times in organized religion of any kind, it doesn't matter what kind, is that eventually they start separating us, and really that is supposed to be bringing us together. And so I'd been down that path. I wanted to know what was at the root. And that's how I found sacred geometry, because I was looking for the root. And so in this morning's card draw, searching for information and the root of all things, right? It sounds like a Indiana Jones kind of expedition. This is the first card that came, and it is called, oh, sorry, that was the second one. Got to go to the first one. The first one is called Dancing Prayer. Dancing Prayer. And the imagery on this card is very interesting. It's all about the Kundalini. And if you know anything about creative energy, the Kundalini is an energy that sits at our root chakra. And it is an energy that comes straight up the spine, really, and through your chakras. and it is a creative energy. It can there is a belief system that once you have your first Kundalini experience, that you don't need another one. But I believe there are many times when you can have this kind of energy surge because it is creative in nature. It's a very intense. Those in the chat room, if you can let me know, have you ever had a Kundalini experience? The energy that shoots up from the base through the crown can be quite intense. There's some people who, especially women, will talk about the most intense hot flash, a lot of heat, right? And it really, some people say it really lights you up, and it does, because it goes right straight through all of your chakras. It certainly lights you up. When I had my first one, we were living in Poynette at the time, down near Madison, and I was in meditation. I was in my meditation room, and I was laying on the floor, and I wasn't searching for answers or anything like that. What I wanted to do was to go into the silence. And this is kind of strange. So I had my eyes closed, right? And I was listening, and what I had the sensation of movement in my body, and I'm going, where is that coming from? And as soon as I thought that, I had this image, and I can still see the color of it, and many people relate it to the snake, okay? And that's what I saw, and that's what I felt coming up my spine. And it was kind of like a greenish yellow, and I could see the head and, somewhat further down its body, not its whole body, because it was at first it came up slow, and then it was like boom. It was like a flash, up and out. And I remember my eyes flying open, and I'm like, what the heck was that? Because I wasn't expecting anything like that at all. It was just a plain old meditation. And that was my very first one, my very first Kundalini experience. And it was soon after that, because it's about creative energy, it was soon after that I left my state job. It wasn't like days after, it was a few months later. I had gone from full-time to part-time, and I had started my own business around feng shui and space clearing. And I was invited to teach a couple of classes that I hadn't thought I was going to be teaching. And so my life was going in another direction. And so after I had my Kundalini experiences, when I realized that what I was doing wasn't a hobby. It wasn't a hobby. And I started making more money at my spiritual career, my spiritual life, rather than my life as an analyst planner for the state. And so that's when I resigned. So there's a whole big story to that, but basically that was linked to the Kundalini experience. And so with this card, when calling the dancing prayer, it's about passion. And in the background, you can see it looks like flowers in the background, right? And what Francine has done with this card is that in the background is the image of the flower of life. And she's using the fruit of life part of that, the fruit of life. Okay. And this is what Francine says. She says about this is that the flower of life is the background for the exuberant expression of joy and the passionate embrace of living. The dancer is entranced with the fire of life, becoming the dance, becoming the passion. She embodies moving Kundalini energy. Choosing this card, you are filled with the passion of some important occurrence that is nearly uncontainable. This fire burns so brightly that it can be seen by others in your face. Joy and laughter come to you easily as you become aware that passion is a dynamic, moving force in your life. Know, however, that the beauty of your dance comes truly from who you are and the decisions you are making to get joy and creative energy moving through your life. Honor your passion and feel it down to the cellular level. It's in the fire that feeds love. It's the juice from which genius arises. It is Kundalini. And she says, feel the passion of living. Now, I just loved that. It's like, it's that creative flow. And I've shared this before, is that I love the adrenaline rush of a new project. When it comes to the maintenance part, to me, that's WORK work. And I have to find a way to be able to enjoy that piece. And so many times once we get into the maintenance end of things, is when I start looking at how to make it more streamlined, how to have it create something smoother, more enjoyable, those kinds of things, right? So with the creative energy of this dancing, what's she call it? She says, the dancer is entranced with the fire of life, becoming the dance, becoming passion. So it's just not in words. It's just not in the thought. Although those are there, those are important elements. It is the feeling. It is the feeling of that passion and the exuberance and the energy rush, right? Yeah. And I do get, I don't know about you guys, but I do get that every month, really, when we start the new issue of a magazine. That's my adrenaline rush. That I was going to say, that's my addiction. In fact, there's a time when there's an overlap with the magazine. We would have just published one magazine, or looking at publishing. We're really close. Like, we're almost in that spot right now. The edits are in. The layout specialists are correcting the PDF that we work from for the magazine. And later today, that piece will be done, and then I can move into the next step, right? And so we're inching our way closer to the publishing date, which is on Friday. And today or tomorrow, I put out an email to the contributing writers, prepping them for the next issue. So prepping them for the September issue. And so there is that overlap of the two, right? And for me, in sacred geometry, that's the Vesica Pisces. And if you look at the background, when those pieces that look like a flower petal, that's the Vesica Pisces. Overlapping circles. Vesica Pisces, and they say that's where let there be light, because there's a burst of light when the two circles overlap like that. Yeah, so I love it. I do. And I talk about creative, being creative and being able to produce, take all these raw materials, all of the articles, all of the heart and soul of the contributing writers, and the pictures that go with those articles. And we mold it into this beautiful magazine that's published on the 10th. You can't get much happier than that. I love the 10th of every month. Um, and so we're talking about dancing the prayer. And even with that title, dancing the prayer, even with that title, there was a part of me that went to, I love to dance. I always have. Any kind of music, it doesn't matter what kind. Um, but the one that brings me the most joy is Native American dance, powwows, and dancing intertribals. I used to be a competition dancer um, when I was young, and when I was I don't know, a kid, and but there is a part of me that finds pure joy in that. And I was taught by one of my aunts when she was teaching me how to dance, and she would say that the drum beat is the heartbeat of Grandmother Earth. And when we dance, we can say a prayer when we're dancing. We can pray for people when we're dancing. And with every step that you take, you're sending down that prayer down to the earth. And so when I saw this card, that was one of the things that came to my mind, is that when we're in certain dances, and even just when we're walking, basically, we can be saying a prayer and sending that prayer down to the earth, and so you're dancing the prayer. And that might be the reason why I even love dancing like that so much, is because there's um, you're in a good place in your heart, and when you're praying for somebody, um, that's a good energy to be in, and to be able to dance and to pray for someone like that. I find it joyful. And in fact, I've had drummers, when I was dancing at Stand Rock. Um, there was a portion where we would do what's called a contest dance, and the drummer would try to fake out the dancer, because you have to end your dance on the last beat of the drum. And so you have to really listen to the drum, right? And it helps a great deal to know the songs. And so anyway, the drummers, there was three of the 8 drummers. Whenever I got the rattle to have the spotlight to do the contest dance, they would say, "No, I'm drumming for her." And I asked one of them once, why they did that, and he said, "It's because you can see the joy that you have to dance, and it's a joy to drum for somebody who loves to dance." And so you can see it when Francine says that it lights you up, and people can see it on your face. It's so true. It's so true when you are in passionately involved in whatever it is that you're doing. You can't hide it. Even if you tried, you couldn't hide it. So, but we have to remember that this was the first card drawn. And so it goes on the right-hand side of the card lay, which means that it is in the position for male energies. So we're taking in the information through our mental thoughts, our logic. It's connected to Grandfather Sky. And so this first card, when we're taking in the information, we're actually taking it in through our mental mind. Yeah. All right. So the next card that was drawn is this one. And this is Together. And if you look at the image, you see a male and a female in a star tetrahedron. Okay, it's called Together. Now, the star tetrahedron, I'll show this to you again. The star tetrahedron, if you take a close look at the image, you get a little bit closer, you see there's one triangle that has the apex to the top right here. And then there's a second triangle that has the apex at the bottom right here. So there's two overlapping triangles. And triangles are called tetrahedrons. And tetrahedron is one of the Platonic solids, which is in the seed of life, on the flower of life. And they are known as the building blocks of all life. Yeah. And when you have the tetrahedron, the one that has the apex at the top, this one, that is known as the male portion of the star tetrahedron. And the triangle that has the apex at the bottom, facing downward, that is the female aspect of the star tetrahedron. And so when you have them together, you have balance. Do you remember I was telling you that I was looking for searching? When I found sacred geometry, I was searching for the root, and I was searching for balance. And this is where I found it, was in the this is also known as the Merkaba, but it's the star tetrahedron. Yeah. All right. I got to check something out here. I've got my phone, and I wanted to look at something because I can't tell if you guys are doing any comments. And so, yeah. Okay, good. I was afraid that, because once in a while what happens with the live stream is, I don't know for what reason, but sometimes the comments don't come through. And it's been sitting there at the same one for quite some time. And I'm thinking, I don't know. You guys are much more talkative than this. And so I was just wondering if you guys were there. All right. So here is the balance. Okay. Oh, really? It kept kicking you off? Cindy Lynn said this. Yeah, we have to keep reminding ourselves too. It is still Mercury retrograde. So I'm glad you were able to come back in, Cindy. I really am happy you were able to do that. And I have no idea why it does that. Here, let's see what Francine has to say about this card. It's about balance. Okay. And she says that the geometry of the fruit of life and the star tetrahedron inform the message of this card. The symbol enhances the intent of balancing male and female aspects. Balance sharing will become co-creation, and it will demonstrate a holistic way of interaction. She says that any relationship is a delicate act of balancing respect and understanding between individuals. I like that sentence. Any relationship is a delicate act of balancing respect and understanding between individuals. And it doesn't matter what kind of relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a husband-wife relationship. It doesn't matter if it's a long-standing friendship. It doesn't matter if it's a business partnership. It's a relationship. And every relationship, for it to be healthy, she says, is respect and understanding and good communication. That's always, for me, I found that is an ingredient that is also needed, because if you're not communicating within that relationship, that's when you can get misunderstandings, right? And so the sooner that you talk something through or bring it up or say, I noticed this, or what about that, even though it's kind of a scary thing to do, because you don't want somebody mad at you. Yet, if you act like it's not there, it starts to fester, doesn't it? Yeah. So I do agree that it has to do with respect and understanding, but I also believe that there needs to be open and good communication. Yeah. Yeah. And Cindy Lynn said it did the same thing with the end of Dana show also. Did it really? Wow. Well, then you know that it's not just your internet. It's probably has something to do with Facebook itself. Hey, Stephanie. Stephanie's here. Yeah, it is. It's one of this when this card came up and I was looking at it before I started reading what Francine wrote about it. It's cards like this that I have I have a yearning. I have a yearning to teach that information again. To teach about activating your Merkaba and how to drive that vehicle, right? The Merkaba. Yeah, that is some of the best work I'd ever been involved in a really long time. And who knows? I might actually start doing that. I've got a few things I've got to settle before I start something new like that again. So, all right. So she says that when we're talking about communication, she says that the longer the relationship is in imbalance, in other words, there's an event or something that caused either a lack of respect or lack of understanding. And in the imbalance continues, she says, the greater that challenge is regaining respect and equilibrium. To recognize and move toward correcting inequalities and misunderstandings as quickly as possible. She says, living and loving in balance is a gift that will enhance growth in your joy in living. And so just that one line is what, for me, brought these two cards together. Okay. Is that she says, the living and loving in balance is a gift that will enhance growth in your joy in living. And dancing the prayer was all about the joy of living, that creation energy. And that when you're in balance, you're in co-creation. Yeah. There we go. Cindy Lynn saying, I agree with that. Respect, holding space, communication, hearing, listening, and understanding equals balance. Yeah, it does. And I think that we have really been talking about attentive listening. And it's just not to each other. It's also with our spiritual team. It's with spirit. It's being with that being, whoever it is, really being there when you're in a conversation, is really listening to them. And we're taking in their whole being. We're not just listening to their words, although those are important. We're also listening to their energy. We're listening, feeling, sensing, and truly being in the conversation. And a conversation, communication, is when you have that balance of giving and receiving, right? One person, one being is giving, which is the talking or the explanation or having the verbal part of it, right? And the other person is in the receiving mode. And then to have balance, the person giving then becomes the receiver, listening to the other person who is now giving. That balance of give and take, I think, is part of that good communication. Is really being there and listening. And humans, us two-leggeds, what we try to do is, in our mind, we're racing forward in the conversation to prepare our questions to provide a resolution or a solution. Rather than really hearing the other person. And we've been trained to do that. You know, we weren't born that way. We were trained to do that. It's a learned trait. It's a learned skill. And it can be useful in other realms, in other ways, but not when it's an important conversation. I have to sneeze. Excuse me. That's a first. I've never sneezed on live stream before. So I think that these two cards, when they come together like this, because remember, I was asking what's the most important energy for us to know about today, and these two cards came together. And so the balance here, and this was in the female position, which means that it's about intuition. We're taking in this information with our intuitions, our feelings, our emotions. It's connected to Grandmother Earth. I have upside down, had it upside down, to Grandmother Earth. So that was in the female position, right? So with these two cards, to me, it's all about being in balance and being joyful, because when we're balanced, we're joyful. We're at peace. And when we're in balance, when we're balanced, our creative energy can be tapped into so easily. Yeah. There is, I think that this also gives us hope too. This also gives us hope. Because, I know that there's those of us that are going through a difficult time. Some call it the dark night of the soul. I realize that because I just came out of one. Yeah. And I was looking back at something the other day. It was a date that came up at the end of 2015. And I was looking at that time frame, and what they say about hindsight's being 2020. I believe that, because when I was looking at that time frame, I thought, oh my goodness, that was a time that a lot of things were just starting to happen with that dark night of the soul. And when you're right, when you're at the beginning of it and right in the middle of it, it's hard to see clearly. It's hard to sense clearly what's really going on, right? And looking back at that, I thought, wow, that was the beginning, and that was 2015. So here I am, 2016, 2017 was a revealing time when I look back at it, and trying to remember what it feels like to be in balance, to have the balance. And I could see in 2016 how I was. It was almost like, when somebody bumps into you and you kind of shoved a little bit and you're off balance and you're trying to get your balance back. It was kind of like that. It wasn't anything intense or huge, right? It was moments. And when looking back at it, I can see that. And with this card, it also reminded me, in the position that it's in, the female position, is that it's remembering the feeling of balance. What does it feel like? And where are your emotions when you're balanced, right? Yeah. Hey, Amy Daniels just joined us. Cindy's saying sometimes it takes the time for someone to learn new tools and ways to communicate. For others, it might be hard to open up and find words, their words. So really holding space and being patient for that person, really listening to someone who is still learning can mean a lot to them. Oh my gosh. Yes, Cindy. Thank you for sharing that because I agree with you. And it really sometimes it's just slowing down and paying attention to that other person and not finishing their sentences, or trying to give them the word that they're searching for, because all that shows is your own impatience rather than waiting for them. I so agree. And there's something about, see, and I think what Cindy, what you wrote about really is about coming from your heart. In my family, we call it doing it in a good way. In other words, you're coming from your heart. And so when you're with somebody who is just either learning how or remembering how to communicate their feelings, to express their feelings, that it's a compassionate thing to be able to be patient and wait for them to express it. Yeah. And sometimes all you need to do too is just give them a hug and say, it's okay. We've got time. Give them another cup of tea, something like that. So thank you for saying that, Cindy. I think it really does mean a lot. Good morning, Amy Daniels. She says, I agree both as well. Yes, I do too. There is something about these two cards. This was the first one that was drawn, Amy. Dancing Prayer. It's about creative energy, the Kundalini. It's about passion. It's about living life passionately, joyfully, being the dance of life. And the second one was this one, which is the star tetrahedron, also known as the Merkaba. It's about balance. It's about being together. And when you have balance, you can enjoy life and become co-creative. Can't hide your passion. Yeah. So I don't know. That was a good one. It brought back a lot of good memories for me and some insights to some past stuff. And I hope that it was helpful to you too. I'm just looking at the time. Polly Joe is up next for her live stream show for Star Nations, the Star Nations Radio Network, and that is Chakra Sessions. And Polly Joe is her show. Let's see, I just did the promotion for that. And her show is all about accessing your divine downloads. Yeah. She says, looking to experience more aha moments in your life? Yep, I am. She says, those times when everything becomes clear can happen even more frequently. And so that's what she's going to be talking about and sharing about this morning, or this noon, for those in the East Coast, Eastern time zone. And she always does a meditation too, to help with the healing part of that. So she's coming up next, and I want to give you guys enough time to go do what you need to do. And hopefully you'll be coming to join Polly Joe. I'll be there. And so anything and everything that we shared this morning about sacred geometry and emotions and thoughts and that kind of stuff, take what resonated with you. Yeah. Grab onto it. Embrace it. Notice how the energy unfolds for you today, how it flows through you today, and how the information from the two cards, the essence of the two cards that we drew today, how you can access that information and use it, apply it. And if it didn't resonate with you, that's okay. It's okay too. Sometimes you're just planting seeds. Other times, maybe you are the messenger, and you know somebody who would be interested in the information or has expressed a desire to learn more about sacred geometry. You can always share the recorded show with them, yeah, and be the messenger. So with that, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and please join me tonight for my show, my live stream show for Star Nations Radio Network called Communications from Home. And tonight, you know what we're talking about, sharing about? Our vows. The vows we make and the oaths we take, and how they impact our current life. And how I'm going to actually talk about how do you break a vow. Oh yeah, right. No, we are going to talk about that because sometimes it's necessary to do that. So join me tonight, okay? That's 8 p.m. Eastern. And so enjoy the rest of your day. And we'll see you back here tomorrow for the card draw information. So Bama Mina, and that's Potawatomi for until we see each other again. I love you guys.